we're going to start in alphabetical order with the Anaheim Ducks. They've got fresh jerseys. They've got the throwback to the best logo of all time in the NHL, in my opinion. I'm so excited that they're throwing it back. A little upset that they still have that stupid web foot on the shoulder of their jerseys, but I mean, I'll take what I can get here. Like at least we're not in the black and gold phase anymore. We are back to Mighty Ducks jerseys. I'm very excited about that. So last year they were bad, really bad. They were seventh in the Pacific Division. Some would say the Pacific Division is one of the weaker divisions in hockey. I'd probably agree. I think the Metro would give it a run for its money, but I do think that the bottom half of the Pacific was pretty brutal last year. And obviously Anaheim was there. They were 26th in the league in Corsi for percentage, 30th in expected goals for percentage, and 28th in scoring chances for percentage, all at even strength. They had the 20th best 5v5 save percentage at .904 as a team, and their shooting percentage was 28th in the league at 8.36. So not only did they not generate a ton, but they did not convert well at all at 5v5, and they didn't fare much better on the power play. They were tied for 25th in the league with a 17.9% conversion rate. I mean, this team has been a bit of a mess every single year. They've got this really fun young core. Every single year we get hyped up about the Anaheim Ducks. Obviously there was Trevor Zegras barely played last year, and that certainly hurt them. But yeah, I mean, across the board, they were a bit of a mess, both offensively and defensively. We'll go into their key departures and additions. So going out the door, you had Jakob Silfverberg retiring this offseason, and then Max Jones went out the door. So not a ton of major losses. In terms of key additions, Brian Dumoulin came over in a trade from the Seattle Kraken here in the offseason. Cutter Gauthier, that's the big one. He'll play the biggest part of any of these additions on this team. He's obviously a rookie coming out of college. He was well known last year for forcing his way out of Philly, and Philly fans, as they do, did not take kindly to Cutter Gauthier wanting out of Philly. So and quite frankly, the ownership and management in Philly kind of sold him down the river. They sent him down the river in a basket. And they didn't look back. So Cutter Gauthier looking to kick off his NHL career this year in Anaheim. And then Robbie Fabry came over to trade from Detroit. So not a ton of additions here. I think they're really probably banking on their young players to all sort of take a step. They've got a really nice young core, as I mentioned already. Let's look at the goaltending. So John Gibson started 44 starts last year. It had a .904 even strike save percentage. Struggled a little bit. Obviously, the defensive environment in front of him was not great. He's been known in previous years as being a volume starter, but that seemed to change last year as Lucas Dostal came into the fold. He started 38 starts and actually had a .915 even strength save percentage, so performed quite a bit better than Gibson at even strength. And he seems to be the goalie of the future here. And I wonder if the tide is starting to shift, and if he is now the 1A going forward. I still think that it's probably going to be a tandem situation similar to what it was last year, but I do think Lucas Dostal probably gets maybe a few more starts than Gibson this year, which is exciting. I think he showed some moments of brilliance last year, despite the Ducks being brutal in front of him. So let's look at the Anaheim Ducks schedule here. They have 13 back-to-backs, which is tied for 11th in the league. 41 off nights, as they do basically every year. That is first in the league. This is This is a team that you want players from this team just for the off nights. You're going to get them in your lineup more often than not. And then in terms of playoff schedules from weeks 22 to 24, they have 9 games with 4 off nights, which is not the greatest schedule in the world. But then from weeks 23 to 25, they have 12 games with 6 off nights, and that is one of the better schedules in the league over that stretch. So if your league goes to the bitter end of the year with your playoff schedule, Anaheim Ducks, you're going to want to be hanging on to them the whole season. So in terms of a power play projection, last year Greg Cronin had a fairly even split power play. He split the big boys up, and honestly, are there really big boys on this team? There's a lot of parity in terms of the talent, and a lot of young guys that are looking to take a step forward this year. But I've got the first unit set as Leo Carlsson, Trevor Zegras, Mason McTavish, Troy Terry, and Cam Fowler. Fowler got a lot of time on the power play last year when we all thought that Olin Zellweger and Pavel Michikov may be taking things over. Michikov did get a little bit of time here and there, but it seemed like Cam Fowler was still the preferred option. Now, there has been a lot of talk in the offseason about Fowler being dealt and how they're working with him to try and find a spot for him moving forward. So it sounds like they're looking to deal him, and I imagine that's probably because they've got Zellweger and Minchikov waiting in the wings, and they're more than capable to be running a power play and to be eating minutes on this team. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But until then, I still think Cam Fowler is probably going to get the lion's share of the power play minutes. A couple dark horses to get onto this unit. I think Frank Vetrano, who had a huge year last year, could get on there. I do think Cutter Gauthier, there is a potential for him to get some minutes on the power play as well. Obviously, he's got a really, really nice shot, and he is a bit of a sniper. So I think that if they decide to ride him out of the gate, he could get some power play time too. But as we've seen in previous years, the philosophy on rookies at times, as it was with Leo Carlsson last year, was to load manage, which I don't know that I fully understand in this context. At least in the context of the NHL, but it's possible that Cutter Gauthier could get that treatment as well, although there hasn't been any evidence of that yet or anything said outright. So we'll see how things play out in training camps coming up here. In terms of my forward projections, I've got Leo Carlsson at 22 goals, 42 assists, 64 points. That's a bit of a step forward for Carlsson. I think he's going to probably play a ton of minutes this year and will hopefully flourish, potentially playing every night. And then Mason McTavish, I've got him for 26 goals, 35 assists, 61 points. Troy Terry, 27 goals, 43 assists, 70 points. Trevor Zegras, I've got him for 23 goals, 43 assists, 66 points. I've got Cutter Gauthier for 28 goals, 19 assists, 47 points. Now, I'm going to be talking about a lot of rookie projections here on this episode. That's just the way that things have laid out. A bunch of these teams have rookies, and I am not confident in my rookie projections at all. I go off of whatever information that I have from prior leagues and limited time. And in Cutter Gauthier's case, he had 1 game in the NHL at the end of the season. You can't really garner much from that, but yeah, so I'm not entirely confident in my 47 point projection for Cutter Gauthier, but it's we got a bit of a ballpark guess and a bit of a reference point here. And then Frank Vetrano, I've got him for 32 goals, 33 assists, 65 points with 265 shots, 139 hits, and 80 blocks. I think that's probably the most controversial one there. I have him for higher than I think a lot of people would. I like Frank Vetrano. I like what he did last year. It's very possible that he doesn't get played the way that he was last year, which was, they leaned on him on the power play. He did perform exceedingly well on the power play. and was kind of the number one shooting option. So I'm not sure if that's the way that they're going to go moving forward, but I still feel good about what Frankfurt Toronto did and the numbers under the hood for the most part. So I do think that he has the potential to get right back up there again. And if they're planning on trading him, which I think he's probably a good trade asset, they're going to want to play the shit out of him just to kind of keep his value at a high. So so those are my projections there. Obviously, Troy Terry, I have his projection dialed back for what it was last year. He had a really tough year. A lot of us drafted him at right wing, and we're pretty disappointed with how the season went. Hopefully, having his buddy Trevor Zegras back in the fold will help things out. But yeah, a lot of these guys I have for higher projections than I think some of our other guys at Apples and Genos have them for. I do think that these young guys take a bit of a step this year, but that it remains to be seen whether or not that's actually going to happen. I think you hope that maybe there's a coaching change here. I'm not the biggest fan of Greg Cronin. In terms of defense, we've got Cam Fowler. I've got him for 7 goals, 40 assists, 47 points. Got Pavel Minchikov for 6 goals, 25 assists, 31 points, and 106 hits. And then I've got Olin Zellweger for 11 goals, 29 assists, 40 points, and 107 blocks. I think that there's a lot of variables that go into this. That Cam Fowler 47-point projection, that is contingent on him playing Power Play 1 for the entire season. And then I think the ceilings of Zellweger and Minchikov also increase if Cam Fowler goes out the door, because they'll get a lot more minutes 5v5, and one of them is probably going to get the power play opportunity. I think that Olin Zellweger is probably, they would be best off using Zellweger in that position. I think he's more suited for a power play role. But I think that these are certainly guys to watch. That's for sure. And then my top 3 targets for the Anaheim Ducks are Frank Vatrano, Troy Terry, and Trevor Zegras. Frank Vatrano, he's going on Yahoo at 146.2. That simply cannot be. He is a category filler, and I think that he should be going higher than that. So that's why I have him on my top 3 targets, especially in Bangers Cats leagues. This guy's a monster. He's one of the better shot blockers for forwards in the league. He hits, he shoots, and he scores points. Troy Terry, I've got him as a top target. I think that he's going to have a bounce back year. And I think stonks are very low on Yahoo. His ADP is 176, and in Apples and Genos leagues is 140.6. So I'm totally comfortable taking Troy Terry in that range. And then Trevor Zegras, I think he'll also have a bounce back year. Hopefully he's healthy. He's got a new haircut. He's got new digs. It's a pretty gnarly haircut, but that's just a matter of opinion, I guess. And his Yahoo ADP is actually lower than Troy Terry's. It's 187, and his Apples and Genos ADP was 204.6. And I like Trevor Zegras going forward on this team. There was a lot of talk about him being dealt as well at points last year, but I do think that if he sticks around, he'll be an important part of this core moving forward.